Hello and welcome to Herald Talks, the Diplomats Edition. I'm Amy Booth, Managing Editor of the Buenos Aires Herald, and I'm here with our editor, Juan Decimo.
Good afternoon, Amy. It's a pleasure to be here for our first edition of Herald Talks with our distinguished guests for this afternoon.
We recently celebrated our 148th anniversary. The Buenos Aires Herald was founded in 1876, existed for 141 years as a newspaper, and was relaunched in 2023 after a short break. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be back, offering the best quality in journalism about Argentina and Latin America. We're here in the Hilton Buenos Aires, launching a series of talks, speaking to experts about their perspectives on Argentina and its position in the world stage. Enormous privilege to launch this series with Ambassador Marc Stanley of the United States. Welcome, Ambassador Stanley.
Thank you, and happy birthday. We remember when you were born. We're now in our 202nd year, and you're just a youngster, but we remember when you were born, so happy anniversary.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Stanley.
So, Ambassador Stanley, from what I could recollect, you've been here since 2021. That's 3 years now?
Yeah, right after that. I got here January 20th of 2022.
Okay, so a little over 2 years now.
2.5 years.
2.5 years. I was wondering, how much of Argentina have you managed to visit and travel? What are some of your maybe favorite destinations around the country?
So I did look at the certificate that Joe Biden gave me, and I looked carefully, and it did not say I was the ambassador of Buenos Aires. It said I was the ambassador to Argentina. And there are 23 provinces plus the provincial city. And so on Friday, I will complete 23 provinces, and I'm very excited about that. So now I've been to everywhere but San Luis. I'll be finished on Friday. And picking a favorite is like choosing between Boca and River. I'm not that stupid. I found something I've loved in every province. And I really have. I'm not BSing. I have really loved every province. And this country is 3.5 times the size of Texas, the 8th largest landmass. And there's something beautiful about every single province. And so it's a great country. I've also been, by the way, to the 24th province of Argentina in Miami.
Yeah, some people call it that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I wanted to ask a little bit, since you've been able to travel, I'm sure you've been able to appreciate the number of industries and the number of sectors that Argentina has. Chief among those are the agricultural sector and increasingly the mining sector, especially lithium, which is critical for the energy transition. I wanted to ask if you see scope for Argentina and the US to grow together in those sectors.
Yeah. The realization that has hit me is how similar our two countries are. We both have what the world needs and wants. We both have oil and gas. We both have rare earth minerals. We both have agriculture and livestock. We both have technology. We both have human capital. And we are the perfect partners to come together to feed and fuel the world. Right now, Argentina is about to release what's in the Vaca Muerta. Argentina, second largest shale oil and gas in the world. Argentina has the third largest lithium deposits ready to come out and be a major player. Argentina has really important copper deposits, and that's what I think is going to eclipse lithium for a short term because lithium prices are down. Mm-hmm. Copper is about to come out with the RIGI. You're seeing the investments in San Juan. Of course, agriculture and livestock are doing great. Technology is doing great. And I see the US and Argentina as perfect partners to feed and fuel the world. The world needs what our two countries have, and we're great partners for this. We're still the #1 investor in Argentina, and we have been for a long, long, long time, and will remain that way.
Fantastic. And speaking of food in Argentina, do you have a favorite? Because of course, meat, Malbec, medialunas.
I do. I've fallen in love with entraña. I get that in a lot of places. Certainly the empanadas. I like the cebolla y queso empanadas. The medialunas I love. Alfajores, the new one that comes from Mar del Plata, I really like. The Rapa Nui chocolates I wish I never found. And the Rapa Nui ice cream I wish I never found. the various gins I've tried around the country and beers, the wines, the cherries that are about to come back out, the blueberries which we're importing now in the U.S., the cherries, your apples and pears are amazing. I love it, just everything. I wish you had more fresh seafood here, and maybe a little more spice.
Things to take on the to-do list, I guess.
Yeah,
basically.
add it to the list. Yeah.
So you mentioned the growing cooperation and possibilities between the two countries. A new government just took office in Argentina in December of last year. And over the course of this year, we've seen a number of U.S. government officials, from the commander of the United States Southern Command, General Richardson, to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, I think he's the first Secretary of State since Rex Tillerson to come. Is there a reason for this increased amount of U.S. government officials in Argentina over this time?
Yeah, we had our ears open. Exactly what you just said. President Milei indicated that he wanted a strong alignment with the United States. We heard what he said and we responded. I just made a list before I walked in. I don't think we've ever worked so hard in 1 year putting together the visitors we've had. We've had State, Department of Energy, Treasury, trade representatives, agriculture, NASA, Department of Defense, Southcom, White House, Senate, House of Representatives, CDC, Transportation, Justice, Homeland Security, DEA, CIA, Corps of Engineers, and more. And we have worked our embassy to death, and we've worked the Argentines to death. I didn't mention Department of Education. We have worked everybody to death with all of these visits. Not to mention, we brought Argentines up to the United States time after time, putting those visits together, and U.S. companies coming here and Argentine companies going to the United States. I just led a mission last week to California. We had another mission in January. I brought Foreign Minister Mondino there in May. We've been busy. I've never been so busy in my life putting these kinds of meetings together. But yes, we heard the message and we're trying to put it together to exploit the opportunity to say, we hear you and we want to make it work.
And what are you hearing from the United States, business people or government officials that are coming into contact with the new government?
So they said they're listening. Number one, we're already the largest investor, okay? Mm-hmm. So they're already here. Some companies have been here more than 100 years. Number two, they were waiting for the RIGI to pass. That's only in specified industries and specified amounts, so they're getting there. They're waiting for the FX markets to get fixed, and for the other measures that President Milei and the Congress are still working on. Once the economy is stabilized and there's access to capital and there's the achievement of what Minister Mondino calls a normal economy, I think you're going to see a larger influx of business. And I think President Milei and others have made great inroads into the technology. They're looking about coming. You're talking about data storage facilities. They're talking about in Rio Negro, et cetera. You're seeing more and more back offices getting established here in Argentina. There's great interest, but it takes two to tango. Argentina has to create if you're going to build a house, you have to build the right foundation first. And Argentina's, the Milei administration and Congress are fixing the foundation for the house, and then the builders can come in and do it. You know, you got to build the roads, you got to do everything else to get that done.
So to finish the closing question, I think you mentioned
we're done already?
Wow.
We can have 1 more minutes.
Okay,
That's
so
fast.
I'm just wondering about taking up on that point you just mentioned. Under Secretary Lago, who was here in April,
Yeah.
one of the things she pointed out that the United States was bullish on trade and cooperation with the United States. With Argentina. I was wondering if you had to name 3 sectors that you can see growing expansion and more cooperation between the two going forward, what would you point to?
I would. First of all, obviously the rare earth minerals is the biggest. Second is the infrastructure to ramp up the rare earth minerals and the Vaca Muerta and the technology and the agriculture and everything else. Artificial intelligence is going to change all of our lives. You have a phone in your hand, right? What did you do before that phone 20 years ago? Where did you get that information? You didn't have it. Our lives totally changed 20 years ago, that you couldn't imagine how that worked. I can't tell you what our lives are going to be like in 5 years after quantum technology and artificial intelligence are going to totally change our lives. And so that's going to be a major investment in Argentina, a major trade between our countries, in agriculture, in livestock, in seeds, in infrastructure, in transportation, in the drilling equipment, in doing fracking, and doing plant growth and everything like that. Education too, by the way. Science, I didn't even mention health. Pharmaceuticals, huge opportunities here in Argentina.
Okay, so just a couple of points that I'd like to follow up on that. You mentioned, well, first of all, you mentioned exchange, currency, and the ease of doing business here. Do you think that that's part of building the foundations of the house that you were discussing?
Yeah, I think that one of the challenges over the last few years has been access to capital.
And the controls, right? And
the controls, the ability, supply chain, predictability, rule of law, independent judiciary, a normal economy. We're not looking for an advantage, we're just looking for normalcy. U.S. companies can go anywhere to do business. They can go to Uruguay, they can go to Chile, they can go to Europe, they can go to Brazil. Why do they want to go to Argentina if there's risk? And they want to eliminate risk and have a normal economy where they can access their imports and exports and access their capital. And that's all they're asking for. It's just fairness and normal.
Fundamental then, the issue of the capital controls, as we know. And you also mentioned science in Argentina. How do you see that sector growing, developing, changing, especially under the new government?
You know, I've been to CONAI and CONICET and INVAP, and I think you have some of the best scientists in Latin America. I hope it continues to be nurtured. You have some of the best, going back to Sarmiento, one of the best education systems in Latin America. I'm worried about it. I'm worried that poverty, over 55-60% of kids under 15 are living in poverty. A lot of them aren't finishing school. As artificial intelligence and other changes are going to hit us, are our children going to be ready for this change? Our workforce is going to be ready. In the United States and Argentina, we need to focus on education and make sure we're ready. But Argentina right now has an incredible human workforce, technology, great human capital. But we need to, both countries, nurture our human capital. It's important for both of our countries.
Just to finish on a lighter issue, you mentioned Boca River. I understand you know how hot that passion runs. You come from a state of Texas, very known for its large sports fandom. I wonder how have you come to interact with Argentine fandom, which of course is mostly concentrated on football, which in the U.S. is called soccer. How has that been, if you've been able to experience that?
So I've been really lucky. I played the Messi bandwagon during the World Cup. I bet other U.S. ambassadors on teams that Argentina was playing. I would bet on Argentina. So I won all the time, except that Saudi Arabia game, which was terrible. But I won every other game. And so I've had a lot of fun betting on Argentina. And so I'm looking forward to the next World Cup, which we're hosting in the United States. I'm looking forward to the Olympics, and I've learned a lot betting on Argentina. Great time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. I think betting on Argentina in sports and in everything else is always a good idea.
And I'm optimistic. I think this is a rough time right now, but I'm optimistic. Argentina has the resources that the world wants. The United States has the resources the world wants. I think we're the most natural partners to walk arm in arm and solve the world's problems. And we didn't even talk about tourism. I think you're going to see a lot more Americans coming to school here, being tourists here. But we want more Argentines to come to the United States and visit our country too. And
Thanks so much.
congratulations on your anniversary. I'm glad the Herald's back, and I read it. I'm excited for your publication. So thank you so much for re-entering the market and educating all of us.
Ambassador Marc Stanley, thank you so much for joining us for our inaugural Herald Talks, the Diplomats Edition. It's been wonderful speaking to you today.